Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. Got a bit of the feedback loop here. Looks like might have had one more slide in here too. So this is going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting squeeze play here. I've got to get Eve's. Gosh, if I could just find Discord. Oh, Discord, where could you be? Well, this must be going bad. Hope you're doing well where you are. Doesn't need a conclusion. Yeah, well, that's interesting, Eve. So, hope you're doing well where you are. This is going to be about a 20-minute feedback loop. I've got a meeting at the top of the hour, and we're taking a look here at. Looks like we got Eve, we got Abby, and we've got Rebecca all in here. And I wanted to make sure, I'm just trying to reorder things here so I can easily get to the pieces of the puzzle that we need to be talking about. Also watching out for updates in the general channel with regard to CouchBot. And final note before we get things underway is Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Central Time. We're going to be having an open house, office hours, after hours. Can't really come down. It's got a blinking sign on the GIF, so it's office hours, after hours. So I'll be hosting office hours for 2 hours on Wednesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Central, and looking forward to chatting with each of you about what you're up to. You know, the job market has flipped around. It's a little more tumultuous than it was maybe about a month ago when things were wide open, but there are a lot of people hiring now. And also, we were releasing a lot more material, tons of stuff for the career mode, tons of stuff for interface, and there's just way more to New Pragmatic than there was 6 months ago. So it's time to have a powwow. I hope that all of you who are checking this out will take the time to sign up and join us. That's Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central, and it looks like CouchBot has fired, and we're going to get this underway. Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. It's time for the feedback loop. I am so glad to have you along. Along with us today is Rebecca, Abby, and Eve. So we've got a trio, a medley, if you will, joining us this morning. And I'm going to start off here with Rebecca, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's get that underway. All right, so Rebecca's got an interesting question here. She's applying for a position as a UX writer, and they've asked to see her UX writing portfolio, and that can be a bit disconcerting when you have set up a design portfolio, as Rebecca has right here. And the one thing I would point out, Rebecca, is that you've done a bit of UX writing. Okay, UX writing is sprinkled all throughout the work, but I want to refocus us on what does a UX writing portfolio look like? Well, the first thing we need to do is come back over to a couple of the New Pragmatic exercises and supporting documentation, and think about, okay, what is UX writing? Well, UX writing, it's like these hero units. All right, it's like, how are you distilling down the message of the company in such a way that it connects and resonates with the user. Also, it's in like the call to action items. For instance, how are you triggering or how are you indicating to a person that what's going to happen after they click the button? What's going into the navigation? How are you making the choices for the drop downs? When you get into empty states, like, what are you doing? What are you filling that information with? Your UX writing portfolio, in many ways, should be focused on the decision making that went into the choices that you made in the interface when it comes to communicating on a textual level. So for you, there's a portfolio that I spotted that I thought did a really good job of this. So this is Mariana Pozniak, and she's done some UX writing for Facebook, and she basically like has a really simple like challenge solution, what she did, and then like it's just screen grabs of the different parts of the interface where she played a role. So this is like suggested photo, and it's just some language here for how that interface element came together. Um, here's this looks like it's basically a Google Doc where she came through and kind of said, here's what I think we should do, and then here's what was actually done. So, and she's got other work in here too. It looks like she's done some work for Spotify. So like there's UX writing guidelines that she wrote for Spotify. I don't think you really have anything in your bag that's like this. But what's interesting is like that entire post is just like one screen grab, and here's what I did. So for you, I don't need you thinking in terms of like big overhaul to a portfolio. If I were you, I would come back through, I would look at all of my projects, and I would pluck out the spots where UX writing was present, and maybe just make a page that's just UX writing, and it's almost like think about this like an about page. Okay, when you do an about page for you, like you have your about page. Your about page is covering like the gambit on you. Okay, I think that you could do the same thing for UX writing, but instead have just have something that says UX writing and like link them to that, and just pluck out the various, like, here's UX writing for CarePoint, and talk about a few of the instances where you participated in, like maybe it's determining what happened over here in the left rail. Cell wise, you do actually a lot of writing for these projects. I know you did a lot of overhauling of Global Holdings. You did some stuff here with Cellwise. So I would encourage you to just put a page together of work. It's almost like a clip reel. If you were putting something together for show reel for video, it wouldn't be one project. It would just be highlights from all the projects. That's what I would do in your case, and that's very much in line with what other UX writers are doing. Second spot I want to look at here is Abby, and Abby it says here she's got her Visual Basics. So Abby's in this spot where she sent out her survey. She's waiting for that survey to come back. She's doing UX work, but she's also working through the UI program. And what I would say here is let's make our way over to Figma. I've just got too many screens. I'm just gonna move that down. So what's interesting, Abby, is there's nothing wrong with this. Okay, this is what happens when a designer who is frankly used to dealing with a lot of content gets a very simple assignment and begins to overthink it. The goal here was to establish hierarchy, and this is horizontal focus, and there was a vertical focus. I'm not sure what happened to the name here, but there was a vertical focus on this page. The goal here was simply to use the photos, and can you, when our goal is to go horizontal, can you use a selection of horizontal photos? When our goal is to go vertical, can you use the selection of vertical photos? You went more in terms of pure scale, like, oh, this page needs to move vertically. Oh, this page needs to move horizontally, and it's fine. I mean, this basically, this is a good approach. This one is less so because we lose the photo, like the photo, the vertical nature of the photo. There's Obviously, lots of photos here that could be used for nature. This one is a tall photo, but it's used so big and crops in such a way that it's hard to see what's going on back there. So, but I can also see like you kind of brought in this vertical layout where you were saying, oh, okay, and maybe not the pure curves that are happening here. Well, I mean, they're not pure curves, but they're just there's a lot of curves here. But this is not an assignment like that. This is an assignment simply saying, okay, can you go horizontal? Can you go vertical? You have done that. Same thing here for the bridges. The idea here was to focus on photography. All right. Can you come in and use, you built content when this was really just saying, okay, I don't want you to think about content. I just want to show you some photos. Can you come up with a design that moves horizontally? You've done that here with the photography. Here you got away from the photography. And again, you're overthinking it, okay? You're going, oh, I need to bring in content. No. I gave you no content specifically because I just wanted you to focus on, can I emphasize the things that best work horizontally? Can I emphasize the things that work best vertically? We'll come back to this to the content. The reason why I'm not going to push this back is, hey, you get the idea. Horizontal, vertical. Horizontal, vertical. So that's all I'm looking for. When you're first when a lot of designers, when they're first getting started, the understanding, when we, it's very easy to put content onto a page. But if I said, I want this to move horizontally, can you make that happen? And frankly, it's not the easiest thing in the world for somebody that's just getting started. For you, no big deal, because you have a visual design background dealing with content. So that's why this assignment was probably confusing for you, because you're used to having content, and I'm just trying to say, let's focus on the underpinnings of that. Let's come down here to exercise 2. And exercise 2 obviously is where, again, I bring in content. So where before you didn't have content, that's because it's in part 2 of the exercise. So it scales up. So part 1, really simple. Part 2, more more complex. But again, strategic use of space. You've got it here. The emphasis here is on top. We're wanting this to basically, this design is supposed to dominate the top, and now it's okay. So the emphasis is in the left. The emphasis is right here. She's looking over into this basic area. If you were going to do anything, I think it would be maybe scaling this a bit so that she's looking more at that area of content. But it's, again, it's pretty close, so it's not a big deal. She's looking more at like the company name right now. But bottom line, you get the idea. You've also got these other elements that are in below. Now here, this is emphasis left 2, and this is asking you to, okay, can you come up with it? Okay, so here you've said, okay, big image, and I'm going to put the content here. Here you've said, big image, and I'll package this together so that it is to the left, and I will put more information over here to the right. There's no right or wrong to these. All right, there is only how many different ways can I hit the target. Okay, and you've done that. Are there ways that we can improve this? Yeah, from a structural perspective, I think the number 2, you've got a better sense of grid here than you do on part 2 or emphasis left or emphasis top. The nav here is a little weird, and then over here the nav again is a little weird. So it's kind of like that. You hit the mark on the second option a little better than you did on the first and the third. But this is simply us trying to lay out some targets, see if you can hit them. Okay. Again, you just overthought it a bit on the first one, but you got the general gist down. On the second one, I give you content, and you did what I would expect somebody with a publication design background to do. So, good job there. Just when a guide comes along, try to focus. Okay, so what is this asking me to do? Don't just immediately jump and begin executing beyond that. Okay, so much of this is can we take the prompt and meet that goal. Okay, maybe they weren't asking for more than that. Maybe this first part was really just this is a photo display. I don't need all this other stuff. And with the photo display, maybe this one's pretty good, but this one's not so good. Maybe these totally missed the mark. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Oh, that's not this. Let's go over here to Eve. And Eve is working through her case study. And this is the detailed side of things. So Eve has done an overview that acts as her landing page for the case study. And the idea here is that we're elevating the basics of the project and what she learned and putting an emphasis there. And this is the process document that goes through, okay, here's all the steps that she did. So I'm going to read this a little more in depth offline rather than taking everybody through. But I do want to get a sense of how it's organized overall. So you got healthy eats, detailed design process, a little intro, research, stating the competition, knowing the user. So the one thing I would say is that put an emphasis on these big sections. Like observational research is part of research. You want to make sure that they realize they're in the research section. Stakeholder interview, part of research. Competitive research, competitor testing, competitive analysis, user interviews, analysis. Okay, so the research phase, like I would say that when you're going through this, there's like a structural hierarchy to it where like research and analysis, and I'm going to guess you've probably got another piece, ideation, and then as we come on down, prototype. Like these are the big thematic pieces of the puzzle. It looks like, oh, and you're in here writing. It looks like you're still in progress. I do think having a conclusion here is good because you've really talked about what you learned over on the other side of this. If they're reading the process doc, they're really just they're going to be deep into this document. And keep in mind, as we've discovered over time, your focus should be specifically on. Sorry, I've got to see what's going on here. Interesting. Your focus should really be on the specifics of giving a complete picture to what this project was in the process document. It's not supposed to be an overview. So don't worry if it feels long, okay? And know that the people who actually opt in and go into this, they don't care how long it is. They are really interested in knowing your process. And if anybody clicks through to the process document and goes, the process is too long, what were you doing clicking through? Like, pay no mind to anybody who complains about the way you've structured this, because you've broken it up to give people a taste and then to let them dive deeper if they choose to. I'm going to come in and read this more in depth, but I do think that you've hit the major sections.
You've got a conclusion that looks like it's in progress. So I definitely don't want to give you any critique on the conclusion yet. But once we have this all buttoned up, I think that this will be a pretty fast port directly into the site. Mainly because I know you've got the content, and this does not have to go through the same rigor of storytelling in the way that your overview did. Your overview was really well constructed. Okay, folks, that's. Let me make it back over here. Okay, folks, that's going to do it for today's edition of the Feedback Loop. I hope that this was beneficial to you. I hope it was as good for you as it was for me. It's always good to see the different types of work that you're doing. So often, it's about not overthinking. Okay, Rebecca, I know you had a question about a recruiter situation. Um, let's not overthink it. All right, let's if the recruiter that you've been reaching out to suddenly goes silent, move on. Like, don't overthink it. And if they come back and ask, well, why did you move away? Simply say, I wasn't getting a response from you, and I opted to. I didn't want to overthink it. I didn't want to take it personally, so I just moved on. So making those adjustments, I think, will be beneficial to you. But moving fast, okay, moving fast, not thinking too much, is going to pay off huge dividends, because you're going to be free of the constraints of worrying about it too much. All right. So good job all overall. And without further ado, I'm Chris Courtney. This has been the Feedback Loop, and I will chat with all of you tomorrow.